The February 21st, 2023 meeting of the Common Council of the City of Connersville will now come to order. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll now have the invocation by Reverend Jerry Hopkins.
The scripture I'd like to share tonight is Psalms chapter 9. The Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you, for you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you. Let's pray. Almighty God, I magnify your name and give you praise for being our Creator and loving Father. And now I thank you for our mayor, the city council, and leaders at every level in our community. Give them grace to bring truth and stability to our city. We look to you as our supreme leader, providing power and justice for all. Protect each one and move them ever closer to you. Bless each family with peace and favor in all they seek to accomplish. And may their hearts and minds be filled with your loving kindness. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, if you'll please turn your cell phone ringers off. I'll have roll call.
Councilman Collins.
Present.
Councilman Warner.
Here.
Councilwoman Barrett.
Present.
Councilman Williams Jr. Councilwoman Phillips.
Present.
Councilman Robb.
Here.
Councilman Gray.
Here.
You have the reading of the minutes, or you have the minutes for February 6th, 2023 regular meeting. Any additions or corrections? Now I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. No, same sign. Okay, motion carried. New business, Jolisa Bates, our grant administrator, requesting permission to utilize the Round 1 restricted opioid settlement for State of Indiana opioid settlement match grant.
Yes, it's a mouthful.
Yes.
I thank you for giving me the time to come tonight. And I had approached Board of Works earlier today and asked for permission to submit the grant, but I needed to come before City Council to request permission to use the restricted opioid settlement funds as a match for this State of Indiana opioid settlement match grant. We are working with 7 organizations in the community that's already embedded in the community, already established. They're kind of the boots to the ground, so to speak, when it comes to fighting against the drug epidemic in Fayette County. And we are requesting permission to submit this application in collaboration with Fayette County. They would kind of be the lead applicant, but the City of Connersville would be one of the organizations that's collaborating with them. I went to the commissioners today and everything was approved on their end. And so I'm just here tonight to answer any questions you might have and to ask for permission to use those opioid settlement funds that you guys received in December, just the restricted portion of it as match for this grant program. And I would want to authorize pending grant approval.
Now, does this kind of increase the value of what we already have?
Yes. So basically what it is when the lawsuit took place, the cities and the towns and the communities, different communities, received a portion of that lawsuit, that opioid lawsuit. The state received $250 million. And the way that they're giving those dollars back to the community is through programs such as this, grant opportunities that they're going to offer. And what they were really trying to do is when they're looking at, especially like rural communities such where we fall, we didn't really receive a whole lot of funds to fight the problem. When you think about it, I think the city received $174,000 and some odd dollars. So they are using these type of grant opportunities to allow us to take the funds that we have and leverage them to make a bigger impact. So right now, the latest word that we had is they're allowing us to do a 3-for-1. So all of the opioid settlement funds that we are putting toward this project, we can take that times 3 for our grant request. So what we're looking at right now, if the city and the county both agree, which the county already has, to use those opioid settlement funds that they received in December, the restricted portion, that would come to $284,930.29. That would be kind of the local match portion, which would make our grant request, we'd be able to request $854,790. So a project that's a little bit over $1 million, where if we was just trying to use our own local funds, 7 organizations, you're not gonna make very much of an impact when it comes to that.
Now, the county received some too. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, and they have, they voted today to put their restricted portion of the opioid settlement funds toward this project, and it was $110,687.80.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Thank you. We're going to combine B, C, and D. Approval of resolution, I can't talk tonight. Approval of resolution 2023-10, reimbursement for the police. And I'll let you do that because I'm doing a bad job. Resolution 2023-10 is a resolution to reimburse $2,626.50 into police other contractual. Resolution 2023-11 is a resolution to transfer $2,552.23 from the COVID-19 Phase 3 grant fund into general. Resolution 2023-12 is a resolution to reimburse $15 into the cable telephone. Resolution 2023-13 is a resolution to reimburse $29.99 into the park telephone. And Resolution 2023-14 is a resolution to reimburse $850 into the police telephone. Any questions? I entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Approval, next is approval of pending ordinance 3883, transient dealers. This is we voted to table this last meeting to make a couple changes. I think Paul received the copy of that. Any discussion or questions? If there are, I will direct them to our city attorney. I just want to make a correction. The agenda says pending ordinance 3883, for ordinance 3643. It is actually pending ordinance 3882 for ordinance 6942.
Okay.
Okay. No questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Suspend the rules. Oh, yep, I'm sorry. Okay, I need a motion for suspension of the rules.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Yeah, third and final.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Departmental reports for the year 2022 and the month of January. City TV, John Halsey.
We're on the wide shot because I don't know what position that camera is right now. So, for the month of January, we had 5 hours, 6 minutes of meeting production, 17 hours, 49 minutes of original production. And just tonight, actually, wrapping up basketball season. Justin is at Northeastern producing a game tonight, which is live here in just a couple minutes. So we'll be carrying that again on cable later on in the week. It'll air Friday, Saturday at 8 p.m. I've got the annual report. Anybody first have any questions on the monthly report? On the annual report, I know there's a lot of data in there because, you know, data is fun. So on the first page, though, you get a comparison of annual, and basically that's just to show what type of programming we're producing and the quantity of programming. And we always try to increase each year to produce at least what we did, but a little bit more. And we've done that again this year, produced just a little bit more. And sometimes that's some older programs, like for instance, Fayette County Line Bluegrass. Since COVID, it kind of went away, and we are in negotiations to bring that back. So they're slowly, wanting to get back out there, so we can help with that and get that going. And on top of that, we've got a new program that we're working on, which will come out probably in the next month, called TV3 Center Stage. It'll be for local artists, not just bluegrass, but any type of artists, as well as regional and maybe even national artists to come in. We'll produce them in the studio, with the idea that once we get Market Street Plaza open, that we can then migrate over to there, do live concerts outside, and produce it on TV at the same time. So maybe even live.
Kind of a warm-up for that. Good.
So just kind of getting ready to do more live music outside. So, which
could change your YouTube numbers. I was
never
thinking
know.
about that when you're
Yes, it could.
looking
YouTube
at
numbers are doing pretty good, actually, so. But we always, it's like when we do sports, we push that out to cable as well. Cable, of course, we don't get any feedback on numbers, so it's hard to tell. Unless we do something wrong, then I know.
Then you know.
So, if, for instance, Weatherbug does not air at 7 a.m., I know all about that. There's just a lot of numbers in there that you can see each program, what we did throughout the year on event productions. On page 8, there's your YouTube and Facebook numbers. You can see that we've,
Wow.
from 2018 forward, we continually increased on that. Actually, YouTube subscribers on this shows 2,749. When I produced the report a month ago, we're now over 3,000. So
Wonderful.
it continues to just,
See, because you need to keep going. Like and just subscribe.
yeah, right.
That's right.
Right?
You have to tell people how to do that.
Yeah.
Click that notify button, you'll know when we're going live.
Right.
You need to say
so-
that every time.
Yeah, I know. And then we've got all the other numbers down there as well for Facebook, which we have a pretty good following. That, and I also I manage the Facebook pages for the city of Connersville, and then the park system. Park superintendent still does all of that herself, but I just kind of manage it, and if they need anything, they let us know. Same goes with the city. So Andrea Napier, the outreach coordinator, has been doing a lot of production for that too, for the city Facebook page. So getting a lot of response that way. On pages 9 and 10, that just shows our budget expenses, unexpended budget. My goal is always to not spend all of the budget, to be as frugal with the money as possible. So you'll see that we came in under budget. I always try to do that. And sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not, but I always try. And actually, we do pretty good most of the time. So that's always the goal. And then you can see over on page 10, breakdown from 2019 forward. Some of the figures on there, total outflows on that, are reflected of some additional appropriations that came in, such as through the CARES Act. So that's not actual budget, it's additional, so that's why a little bit higher. And then the final page, I think you should have a lot of photographs, because I always like to toss in some entertainment there for you throughout the year, so you can see some of what we did.
Okay.
Any questions? I know there's a lot of information in there, so. Okay,
Thank you, John.
thanks.
Next is EMS, Chief Harden.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'll start with the month of January. We answered 285 calls for service, had a total of 3,548 miles. If you drop down below that, that's my staffing report. I still have 2 off on workman's comp. Fuel usage. As I said in the Board of Works earlier, not a lot of exciting stuff in January. It's end of the year, beginning of the year, it's reports, it's all of that sort of fun stuff. So no exciting things, but we did finish up the Provider Relief Fund report for Phase 4. You have to keep the feds happy or they're going to want their money back, so I guess it is important.
We're working on the first ever Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, their cost reporting program. It's the first time they've ever done that. So hopefully everyone gets that in. Well, you have to, or you're going to see a reduction in your reimbursement rates. But the hope is that they'll see exactly how much it costs to provide these services, and they'll adjust their rates accordingly. Also working on our state recertification. Every 2 years we have to do that. So all my normal things, the nature of calls. I had several people ask, and several organizations ask for an overdose report. So that is what's on the very back. We did see a spike about mid-January, where we were having more overdose calls than what we typically see. So you'll see that. You'll see that February's numbers were as of noon on February 10th. I did not get a chance to look today as to exactly where we're at now, but we were kind of very much ahead of where we normally are in that regards. Does anybody have any questions on January? If not, you do not have this. This I just kind of put together today. So on February 6th, I asked the Board of Works for permission to purchase some monitors and also what's called a Lucas device, which is a CPR assist device. I worked with my rep. We got 2 of them as demos so that we could get the training and kind of make sure this is the route we want to go. So that was on the 6th. We did the training last week, 15, 16, and 17. Had one training per shift. So we put them in service at 2 p.m. on Friday. 52 and a half hours later, we deployed one on a cardiac arrest. And just, it was, you know, we might go weeks and not have a cardiac arrest. The fact that it was 52 and a half hours later, was just coincidence, but it did an excellent job. The crews have had nothing but good things to say about this device. I always come and I ask for money, and you guys see what we spend, but you don't, sometimes we don't do a very good job of coming back and say, this is why we spend the money, and this is why we spend the money. So from the time it was deployed and turned on until it did its first compression was 33 seconds. And that's really, really good. I mean, it goes down and tells me everything, every button that was pushed, everything that happened. It gives me this report. So the incident did not end up having a good outcome, but the fact that the machine worked, the crews worked well with it, it is a major adjustment. So it was a positive in that light. So does anybody have any questions about Lucas? Now, I'll kind of hit the highlights on the 2022 report. There's a lot of information. I think there's 48 pages. If you want to know a statistic, if it's not in there, I can probably get it for you. So just kind of the highlights that for the year that we answered 3,880 calls for service, logged 47,567 miles. Over 850 hours of man hours in education, provided over 230 hours in special event coverage, including fairs, Party in the Ville, football games, demolition derbies, trunk or treats, harness racing, etc. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not going to belabor the point, but the one thing I did find interesting, and I find this interesting every year, maybe it's just me, but if you look at the patient age and gender report, that the 100 plus age group, there's 11 in the 100 plus age group for females and 0 in the male column. So I'm not sure if you guys know something we don't, or what the deal is, but we have over 100, a population of over 100, but it seemingly is majority females. So I can't explain that. I have my theories, but I won't go into that. Maybe you guys aren't doing stuff, the females aren't doing things that are quite as stupid as we do sometimes, but I'll leave that to your imagination. The only other thing I was going to kind of report or point out is that the average runtime summary. So the average unit notified until en route was 0.33 minutes. So basically 20 seconds, we're clearing the call and we're en route every time. Unit on scene is 6 minutes and 6.34 minutes. Now you have to keep in mind that not only do we cover the city, we also have the county. And there are some far-flung corners of this county. So all in all, that is very, very good. The other thing with that is that if you look at our scene time of a little over 17 minutes, what I've explained before is that before, in years past, decades, it was you got called because someone broke their leg. That was their only problem, is they broke their leg, and we still get that. As we see people living older, living healthier, longer, maybe coming home with conditions that would require them to be in the hospital before, but now they're chronic conditions they're living with day in and day out. Sometimes we have to figure out what is going on. What's a new problem versus what's an old problem? Why are we there? What are we going to treat them for today that wasn't here yesterday or last week? So I've watched this over a couple of years get longer because it is becoming more involved. So you have to try to figure out, okay, why are we here specifically, and what has changed since yesterday or the day before or last week. So we are spending quite a bit of time with our patients. So that starts eating up time, man hours, trucks, but that's the way it is, and that's what we're doing. And that's across the nation statistic. That's not just us.
Are you getting, like, can you track, like this, you're getting a call to the same house
Yes,
often?
we do that too.
Are they usually your elderly?
Some are, some aren't. So I have, at any point in time, I have a watch list of addresses that I'm watching. It might be because we've been there a lot. It might be because we saw a huge spike over a course of a couple days and then they got back off. A lot of times those people may need more than what we're able to provide. They may need more services. Maybe they need a social services consult. Maybe they need an adult protection consult. And that's kind of what I do, is I'll watch for big spikes. Mrs. Jones, we didn't see, she's never been on our radar, and now all of a sudden we're there twice a day. Something else is going on. And that's where it's not really the frontline crews. They don't know what happened yesterday. They don't know what. So I do watch those numbers. I watch those people as they come across, and I have reached out to social services, or I have reached out to adult protection, or even there's some other resources that I can pull in to make sure, okay, they're falling a lot. Why are they falling now and they didn't fall before? So I do try to track that to the best of my ability. But yes, we do watch for repeats, and we do have a lot of repeat patients on a normal basis. But when they start going outside that curve, then it's time to start looking, why are we there? So, do you have any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marla Steele is not here tonight for the parks, but you have her report. Fire Department, Chief Jones.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start off with a little recap of 2022 first. A lot of these numbers you've probably seen before. I give some running totals throughout the year when I do my monthly reports, but we'll go over everything. I pulled some of the other numbers just to get it all on one page. We'll start off with the total overtime for 2022 was $102,000, $420.33. Moving on down to fuel usage, total gallons used for 2022 was 4,955 gallons for a total cost of $22,948.65. Total incidents for 2022 was 2,016. Fire-related out of that total was 396 incidents. EMS related was 1,485. And we had a total of 135 auto accidents. Total instructed hours, 823 and a half instructed hours that they did for the whole year of 2022. And we did a total of 157 inspections last year. A couple highlights that I'll hit. We did get a grant, if everyone remembers, for the little training container. So that was nice. That should arrive sometime in April, so we're excited to get that and start doing some training on that. We really appreciate that. Anytime you get a grant, it's a good thing. We put on some local courses that were open to the public. We did a hazmat course and a firefighter 1 and 2 course that we went through Ivy Tech. My assistant chief, Nate Stevens, taught that class. It was open to the public, so it was nice to see people applying, that may have interest in the fire service, one day applying and taking those classes. The 2 guys that we did hire last year did get certified in their firefighter 1 and 2. One was already an EMT when we hired him, so that was good, and the other one's about ready to start EMT class. So that's some highlights of last year. Anybody have any questions over 2022 at all? No? The new report that you've got in front of you, I kind of redesigned the report a little bit. Last year it seemed like we were sifting through a packet pretty quick to get all the numbers, so I decided to put everything on kind of a cover sheet. I did still include all the summaries from before, all the incident summaries, the training summaries, and the inspections. That way, if you can't sleep one night and you need something to read to put you to sleep, you go ahead and read through all that. So I just figured it was a little bit better just to get all the information on a front cover sheet. So that being said, we'll start off January of 2023. The total overtime was $3,594.77. The FLSA portion of that was $1,724.85. The remainder was all manpower shortage. So the overtime has came down, as you can tell from previous months of last year. I did include the prior 2 years overtime, so we can compare as we go throughout the year. So each month you'll see, what it was that month for 2022 and 2021. Have something to compare it to. Moving on down to fuel usage. January we used 379 gallons of fuel for a cost of $1,729.13. Total incidents for the month of January, we had 151. 25 of those were fire related, 116 were EMS related, and we had 10 auto accidents. Moving on to training hours, total training hours for January we had 54 total instructed hours. 37 and a half of those are fire related and 16 and a half of those are EMS related. Had a total of 28 fire inspections for the month, which was up from normal. 25 of those were regular annual inspections and 3 of them were from complaints. We do get complaints from time to time. People see things that they don't think looks right. A lot of times if it doesn't look right, it's probably not, so we go look into it and we get those things fixed. I did include fire investigation hours. I wanted to do that last year. I didn't find a great report that produced those, but I created a report, and as a matter of fact, we had some investigation hours today because we did have a fire earlier today also, but we do spend a lot of time investigating fires. A fire happens, a certain day, and we still may be investigating it 3 or 4 weeks later for a few hours, here and there. So you'd be surprised at how the hours add up, the time spent on investigating fires. So I did include that, and then I have room for, adding anything else that, for the future that we might want to see on these reports. So if anyone notices anything or thinks that anything could be improved, feel free to let me know. I did, after I did send the report to Diane, I realized that part of the report was one direction from my cover sheet, so I'll try to fix that next month. the way it's all the same direction, same format, so.
You can navigate that.
Yeah. I didn't realize it till after I'd sent it, and I looked through it again, and I noticed that, so. But I will fix that. But that's all I have, if anybody has any questions.
I do. In light of the mess that Ohio's dealing with, I know in the past you guys have trained for rail accidents. Is that still an ongoing thing?
We do have plans. Matter of fact, we had, right after I first took office, we had a pretty large spill on the east side of town with one of their engines, a pretty large diesel spill.
All right.
You know, our capabilities are limited compared to, you know, larger hazmat teams. You know, we can contain a small spill, possibly pump that small spill into some containers or something like that. But after that incident, I did have a discussion with some CSX personnel, and we were supposed to schedule some trainings, and then COVID hit. Nobody wanted to train, nobody wanted to come out. So that's still something that we plan on doing. The new EMA director, Wade Walling, we did have an local LEPC meeting the other night and discussed how we're gonna get together and start, you know, coming up with plans for that, because that could very easily happen here, just the same as it did there. There's a lot of nasty stuff that goes through here on the rail, and sometimes, you know, we're not aware of what it is, so.
It has in the distant past.
You never know about axle breakage.
Right, so, yeah, I mean, we're working on coming up with a better plan. I don't think right now, is like I said, our capabilities are limited. We do what we can do. The biggest thing's usually evacuating, you know, until you find out exactly what something is, or when you find out what it is, then you know what to evacuate, how far to evacuate. And then we, you know, usually call in some, you know, the state for some help with that. And usually these companies, CXS, they do have their own teams that respond to a scene, and they have big trucks that pump and clean up and stuff like that. And they were there reasonably quick that day, so. But we are working on, obviously in light of the rail accident, you know, it's opened a lot of people's eyes everywhere, not just here, but to try to be as well prepared as you can for something like that.
That's the key, to be aware of what we need to do.
Right, so, yeah, we're working on it.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Utilities, street department, Mike?
Hello.
Good evening.
We'll start off with the monthly for January. Revenue disbursements, we're still running a month behind with our finances. A lot to do with our software changeover. Information did not transfer correctly from the old system to the new system, so we've been doing a lot of hand entering, line by line, double checking, triple checking to make sure things are being put in the right line item. It's been a problem, but it's getting figured out. Cindy, our office manager, and our office personnel has been working very hard to make this right. And I know Rosemary gets flustered sometime, and she knows our problems, so she's working with us to get through this mess. But so hopefully we'll get this thing fixed next couple of months. Overtime, which includes Christmas and New Year's, we had $8,894 in overtime, and $37.88 of that was actual scheduled overtime. Most of that the water plant and sewer plant. Work orders are attached. The water report is a little longer than normal. We installed, I think, 36 new meters, and each meter has a work order, so the work order list a little longer than what it normally is. And also the water sewer reports are attached. Miscellaneous, we installed a 15-inch drain at the 9th Street plant. It's precautionary. Our goal is to have that plant operating here in the next few months. And right now, all the important motors and pumps sits kind of down in a basement. And if we have a line that burst, it could fill with water and ruin those pumps and motors. So we put a 15-inch drain to cover that, just in case. So those pumps and motors are very, very expensive. This is all done in-house, this drain. Headworks, I think digging is completed. They are now installing the rebar, getting ready to pour. Pretty impressive down there. A lot of rebar, looks like, in that pit. So that's all being done. We also had 5 Century wells tested. Most of that is in the park area. It's an annual test for chemicals, and everything turned out good on that. The other item is our lead copper inventory. Actually, it's a service inventory. Trying to find my sheet here. Per EPA, we have to inventory all of our service lines in the city. Well, I wouldn't say just the city, but if we supply them with water, we have to determine the service line, our side and the customer side. So the next billing, that is be here in the next couple of weeks, we'll have this survey attached, and we would like for the people to the best of their ability to fill this out, to check pretty much when the pipes comes into the house, if they're lead, copper, or galvanized, or plastic. If you can't figure it out, it doesn't matter. Just put unknown. We will end up potholing the yards that doesn't reply. But just takes a few minutes. It'll be they can tear it off, put it back into the bill, and send it in. Drop it off the drop box, or they can even email it to us at the gis@connersvilleutilities.com. And if you're really into it and you don't know what it is, you can take a picture of it and send it to us on gis@connersville.com. So we'll get those surveys out, get them put on the map, then we will start potholing yards. And all that is our vac truck sucks a hole 6 to 8 inches down 3 feet from the meter pit. We'll see what type of line it is, mark it, and go to the next house. So that's the process. We have about 5,000 houses to do, and that's what we'll probably be doing all summer, is doing that. So is there any questions over the survey? All right, the annual report. If I can find my cheat sheet. Hopefully, a few minutes to look it over. I'm not going to read the whole report to you, but just kind of talk a little bit about it. But the first 5 pages basically talks about our staffing, how we're organized, seniority, our IDM license, and our mission statement. Page 7 and 8 is our department highlights. A lot of that stuff we've talked about over the last year. So I'm not going to go read all of those, but most of the stuff you should be aware of. 9 and 10, it talks about our long-term control plan and our current schedule and where we stand so far with that. Page 11, our future planning. That's something that we try to look at a couple years down the road. It's hard to do utility planning because you never know what sewer water line's going to do. So when they break or bust, they have to be repaired. So we try to put together more of a maintenance plan each year on our facilities and some of our equipment. So, in our future planning, we are still in the process of installing new meters. We should install hopefully 500 to 600 meters this year. Plan on putting the 9th Street plant online. We have a plan to clean our water tanks and our wells, and this year we'll clean and paint Elephant Hill water tank this year, and video and clean well 1 down behind the park this year. Of course, our copper lead, I keep on going copper lead, but it's a service inventory. Will be happening this year. And there's some other items also. The retention tank under the water plant, it needs to be inspected and cleaned. Not for sure when the last time that was done. We talk about the wastewater plant. We don't talk a lot about the wastewater plant itself. We talk about the big projects, the headworks, the digester project. But I do want to talk a little bit about Erin Johnson, which is the supervisor down there, and her staff. They have put together a really good maintenance plan the last couple of years, and we have a lot of primary tanks, secondary tanks, grit tank, a whole bunch of stuff down there. And they have been cleaning them, getting them empty, cleaning, replace all the things that needs to be replaced inside. There's a lot of moving parts. And every year they've been keeping up with that, repatching the concrete crack that's here and there, because the plant is fairly old. But I'd just like to shout out to her, because we don't really talk a lot about what's happening day to day down there. So let's see, page 12 is overtime report. Last year overtime was 69,242. Previous year was 72,446. Down a little bit, but it's pretty consistent year to year with our overtime. As long as we don't have a lot of leaks after hours, that usually keeps our overtime manageable. But like I said in the past, a lot of our overtime comes from the water plant and sewer plant shift, to cover the shift. Page 13 is our map of water leak, main water leaks that was repaired in this city. We go back 6 or 7 years on this, so we can overlap them on the map. And if we see an area that's really has a lot of leaks, those are the mains that we should try to fix first. So it's more of a planning tool that we use. Let's see. 14 and 15 is the water plant, sewer plant totals that they did for last year. And page 16 is our revenue disbursement report. End of the year, it also includes our fund balance. This year was a little up and down just because of the projects and taking invested money out, put it in the budget to cover some of these big projects that we did. But that's where we stand. And the last few pages is basically our financial stuff, our bond payments, our investments, and some of our budgets that we use to plan for next year and years to come. Is there any questions over the report?
Pretty complete.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Coulter?
Howdy, Brad. Quickly, I'll highlight a few things that I wanted to mention. With the utility report, page 6, one thing I wanted to tell you about, we've added some names and some certifications to the people that we have licensed this year, which I'm very happy about. I think that's on page 6. And then I wanted to tell you that we have been working on, if everything goes right, I hope that at the end of this year we add about 5 more names to the list of people that are certified, so that we have a little bit deeper bench. But if you can look at that list and see that we only had, maybe 4 or 5, 6 people that had certifications, so that was getting pretty touchy there for a little bit. And, in contract negotiations, these guys have been helping me. We've been working on beefing that up, so hopefully that's all gonna work out. Also in the utility report, I want you to take notice, just a fun fact number, we pumped 824 million gallons last year of water at the water plant, and we added 23,000 pounds of fluoride, and we added 5,000 gallons of bleach. That's how we disinfect nowadays, is with bleach instead of chlorine gas, which is much more dangerous. And then the last thing I want you to notice on page 18, is it 18 or 16? 16, we've got about $5.05 million invested now, which I'm pretty happy that we're still at that level after we spent over $7 million to invest towards the Headworks project last year, that we still are in pretty good shape with our investments. And I think I told you about last month that those investments are really making good money for us right now. Also, I wanted to tell you just for a few minutes about at the compost site, because I wanted to talk about that a second. We had 435 tons of leaves last year, 23 tons of limbs and wood, heavy wood. We had 937 tons of brush, And we had 31 tons of mixed yard waste like grass and stuff that we pick up and people bring, and then 19 tons of manure. You know, we've been closing for the winter down there, and we close at times periodically to try to deal with all that material that we have, and that's one reason I wanted to tell you about this, is that, you know, it's intended to be for the residents and not industrial, and we turn people down and make them pretty mad sometimes when they want to, people are doing projects and want to bring big old loads of stuff, but we just don't have the room or the time or the people or the money. I can't remember what we spent, was it like 3 years ago, didn't we spend like 30 or 40,000 to grind up all that extra stuff and catch up?
Just to get caught up.
Yeah, and we're trying to not spend that money and keep it ground up with our own equipment. So to do that, we just have to limit a little bit. So I hope people can just be a little bit understanding that we have to limit the time that we're open a little bit and just try to limit what we take in to the residents and things. So that was the annual compost report. If you get a chance to look at the street department report and the transfer station report, so they're pretty interesting. You can see we took in 9.9 thousand tons last year of waste. We took in 300 of recycling. That's estimated. You know, it's kind of hard to weigh that stuff. And then the total income down there for the year was 235,000, so that adds up pretty nice. Does anybody have any questions for me about any of the reports? There's a lot there. I hope you can read those if you get a chance, especially the annual ones. And if you do have any questions after the fact, give us a holler.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Police, Chief Bowles.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to apologize that I'm not sure, I was out of town last week, so I'm not sure if you guys have the information that I have here. I'm not sure what you all have, so I'm going to apologize up front. So we're going to start with the month of January. Overtime has gone down considerably. It's at roughly 5,000. The gallons of fuel was 2,131. Anybody who had any questions on the monthly? On to our January incident reports. We had a total of 1,034 calls in January. Made 270 traffic violations. Our guys are doing a lot of drug interdiction right now, and so they're doing a lot of traffic stops and doing pretty good at it. So pretty happy and proud of the officers that are working that. In February, from February 1st to the 21st today, we've had a total of 12 drug-related calls and 9 paraphernalia calls. We had 181 man-hours of training in January, and our officer that's up at Hialeah is about halfway through, so pretty excited about that. Any questions on January's report? All right, on to the yearly report. Our overtime was pretty high last year, but most of the year we were pretty short-handed. There was no way around the overtime, and we ended up with 119,000 in overtime. On our yearly incident call, we had just under 12,000 calls in 2022. 2,019 of those were our traffic stops. We had 367 accidents
in the year 2022. Our detective division, Detective Sherwood was assigned to the detective division in March. So from March to December 31st, he had 115 cases assigned. Detective Tudor came in September. Until December, had 56 cases for a total of 171 detective cases. Our K-9 division, Officer Perry with K-9 Leo had 146 hours of training. He had 4 school searches, Union County, Hagerstown, Northeastern, and Lincoln, 11 demos, Eastview, Frazee, Grandview, and Everton. Our second K-9, Officer Watson with K-9 Simon, he had 130 hours of training, 19 demos, the Career Center, Grandview Elementary, Frazee, Everton, Union County, the Kappa Kappa Sigma sorority, and 4 school searches, Hagerstown, Lincoln, Union County, Northeastern. In 2022, the department as a whole, we had 3,116 training hours. Ordinance enforcement for 2022, 3,157 complaints, 864 ordinance violations, 82 tickets, 337 tagged vehicles, 47 impounded, 83 properties that the city cleaned up, 83 of those, and 16 animal ordinances.
Chief, we don't have that in our packet. Can you get us that one?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't
Yep,
have that.
Yeah, there'll be a spreadsheet that I'll have Diana print out on that. I apologize that you don't have it, but I'll make sure you guys have those. Any questions on the yearly?
I have one question, but it's not associated with this. The operation of the camera, body cameras, are they on all the time that the officer's working? Or how's that
Not
operate?
when they're working, just when they get out on calls. When they're dealing with the public, it should be on.
How's that
It's
activated?
manually. The only time it's automatic is when they pull their taser. We have the battery system that manually operates, turns it on. Other than that, it should be on standby, and when they get out and deal with any public, they should turn it on.
Okay, 'cause I was wasn't aware, I was thinking it was automatic, so
Yeah.
I appreciate you clarifying that.
Anything else?
Chief, is there any grant opportunities for drug interdiction to help maybe, you know, if you have extra officers work on second shift or a third shift, whatever, obviously that's overtime, but is there any grants that actually cover that particular type of deal?
Yeah, I think you and I discussed that in the past. I'll have to get with Julissa and see if there's grants that specifically cover
Right.
officers to do
I
that.
don't know, I mean, I don't know their budget, but like Henry County obviously has their own little unit for it, but I don't know if that's just built into their department or if that's
Right.
something they help fund.
Yeah, it's not built into ours in any way to
Right,
to
but I wonder
compensate
if
that.
that's something, you know, if we see spikes or whatever, if that's something we can maybe pursue.
Sure.
But
I'll check into it. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Next to old business, anyone have any old business? Any miscellaneous business? Public forum, anyone in the audience wish to speak? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.